Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Arundhati Ramnan and here are the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Swiss National Bank throws a $54 billion lifeline to Credit Suisse. Shares of the embattled lender rebound after hitting record lows. Credit Suisse promises to become simpler and more focused with the government's bailout. Global markets rebound as investors heave a sigh of relief at Swiss National Bank rescuing Credit Suisse. European Central Bank is expected to announce its rate decision in a few hours, and the street is bracing for a 50 basis point rate hike. Sensex and Nifty snap a 5-day losing streak to end flat thanks to a last-hour recovery, but the Nifty fails to hold 17,000 mark. Metal stocks are the biggest drags. Stock exchanges put a freeze on shares held by promoter groups of Patanjali Foods after the company failed to meet minimum public shareholding norms. The stock falls over 4% in trade, even as the Patanjali management promises to comply with the new rules in a few months. Another mixed day for Adani stocks, with 6 stocks gaining in trade and 4 others ending in the red. Opposition parties continue to protest in Parliament, demanding an investigation into allegations made in the Hindenburg report. DLF sells more than 1,100 luxury apartments worth 8,000 crore rupees in 3 days at its upcoming project in Gurugram. Luxury home sales have been soaring since the union budget, which proposed to fix capital gains deduction limit at 10 crore rupees from the 1st of April. Enforcement Directorate conducts searches at premises linked to senior Franklin Templeton management. The searches were conducted in connection with senior officials allegedly withdrawing their personal money from the fund house's 6 schemes days before these were formally wound up. Life insurer ICICI Pru appoints veteran ICICI Bank executive Anup Bagchi as MD and CEO for 5 years. Bagchi will succeed NS Kannan, who is set to retire on the 18th of June. This year, Bagchi has been with the ICICI Group for the last 3 decades. The emergency credit guarantee scheme that was rolled out during the pandemic to help small businesses is unlikely to be extended beyond the 31st of March. Government sources say that the utility of the scheme has passed with economy recovering. Former Mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, named as the next U.S. ambassador to India. The U.S. Senate confirmed his nomination after a narrow vote. Those were the headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Now, the top story tonight, embattled Swiss bank Credit Suisse has gotten a $54 billion lifeline. The Swiss National Bank is extending a covered loan facility and a short-term liquidity facility. The move comes after Credit Suisse shares hit record lows for the last couple of days, and the Saudi National Bank, which is the largest shareholder, refused to provide any fresh financial assistance, citing regulatory restrictions. But the Saudi National Bank claims that no assistance was sought. Credit Suisse, in its annual report, said it has found material weakness in its financial reporting processes for 2021 and 2022. The Swiss National Bank and market regulators said Credit Suisse meets the capital and liquidity requirements imposed on systemically important banks. Jeff Cutmore is here with more on the rapid developments at Credit Suisse and the impact. More there with the latest on Credit Suisse. Now, the chairman of Saudi National Bank, which is the largest shareholder in Credit Suisse, told CNBC that there has been no discussions with the bank about providing assistance. He also added that the bank is not keen on hiking its stake beyond the current 9.9%. Take a look.
Back in October, you and I had a discussion, and I had multiple discussions at the time. And at the time, we articulated very clearly that we would not go beyond 9.9. Even if we desired to, there are too many complications from a regulatory and a compliance point of view globally to do that. So we were not considering that. Yesterday's message was exactly the same. I'd like to cover 3 points. Number one is that the message has not changed. It's the same message as we talked about in October.
This is not a vote of no confidence in Credit Suisse.
The second message is there has been no discussion with Credit Suisse about providing assistance. I don't know where the word assistance came from. There has been no discussions whatsoever in the past, since October, about Credit Suisse needing more capital or requiring assistance. So
in the last 24 hours, though, we've seen them go to Swiss National Bank for a lifeline.
But that was a manifestation of unfortunate reporting or chatter in the system that we had refused assistance, but we were never asked, and to my knowledge, there has not been any assistance sought. That's point number 2. The third important point is the bank is on its way to do the restructuring that they've been talking about.
And back home, the recovery across Europe helped Sensex and Nifty end in the green, but the gains were modest, with bank stocks swinging wildly in trade. With this, Sensex and Nifty have managed to snap a 5-day losing streak. However, Nifty failed to hold above that 17,000 mark, ending just below that level. It was a mixed day for Adani Group stocks. 6 companies ended in the green and 4 others ended in the red. All in all, the group's market capitalization remains above that 9 lakh crore rupee mark. At its peak, the Adani Group had a market capitalization of nearly 25 lakh crore rupees. The group's value has halved since the Hindenburg report. Now, the Adani controversy continues to stall Parliament. Both the houses were adjourned for the day amid ruckus by opposition MPs. Opposition parties continue to protest, demanding a joint parliamentary committee to probe the allegations against the Adani Group. Patanjali Foods fell nearly 2% in intraday trade after the exchanges froze promoter shares as the company failed to meet minimum public shareholding norms. Nearly 293 million equity shares have been frozen. Patanjali Foods CEO Sanjeev Asthana told CNBC-TV18 that the company was confident of complying with the norms within the next few months. Mangalam Malu is here with all of those details. Mangalam?
But Patanjali Foods was under pressure in today's trading session. This after late night, there was an exchange notice that came in that both the NSE as well as the BSE on the directions of SEBI have frozen the promoter shares in the company, close to around 292.5 million shares, which amounts to 80.8% stake in the company. This on account of the company not going ahead and meeting the minimum public shareholding norms. Currently, the promoter's stake is 80.82%. That means the public shareholding is 19.18%. This was supposed to go to 25% post the FPO. The company on its part has said that they are confident of achieving the mandatory minimum public shareholding within the next few months, and the stock exchange notice will not have any impact on their financials. The stock, remember, has corrected about 36% from its 52-week high, but still above the FPO price of 650.
We are reasonably confident that this should occur in next couple of months. Investor meetings are already going on right now. There are reasonable confidence that we would meet every single compliance what SEBI requires to be done. Our company is very confident. Our work towards business operations in terms of the management's commitment and everything remains.
On to all the action from the commodity space. Oil prices regained some lost ground after it hit one-year lows in the previous session. This after markets in Europe calmed down after Credit Suisse was thrown a financial lifeline by Swiss regulators. Shares of ICICI Prudential Life Insurance surged after the company named ICICI Bank veteran Anu Bagchi as the new MD and CEO. Associated with the ICICI Group for 3 decades, Bagchi will serve as MD and CEO for a 5-year term starting from the 19th of June. Bagchi will be taking over from NS Kannan, who is set to retire after completing his tenure on the 18th of June. Real estate company DLF says that it has sold over 1,100 luxury apartments worth 8,000 crore rupees in 3 days at its Arbor project in Gurugram. As per the real estate company, a single apartment unit costs 7 crore rupees. The company says that over 95% of the buyers are individuals who have bought into the project for their end usage. Luxury home sales have been soaring since the union budget, which proposed to fix capital gains deduction limit at 10 crore rupees from the 1st of April. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that top management of Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund has been raided by the Enforcement Directorate in a money laundering case. Templeton's Sanjay Sapre, Santosh Kamath and former executive Vivek Kudva and his wife are under the ED scanner. The case pertains to shutting down of 6 debt mutual funds in 2020. Shivani is here with all of those details. Shivani?
According to sources, the Enforcement Directorate has conducted searches on Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund's top management. The searches were conducted in connection with the irregularities with regard to withdrawals of investments from the 6 debt schemes before they were shut on April 23, 2020. According to sources, the searches happened today at the residences of CIO Santosh Kamath, ex-India President of Franklin Templeton Sanjay Sapre, ex-head of APAC Distribution Vivek Kudva and his wife Rupa Kudva. SEBI, in its order dated June 7, 2021, had referred to Vivek and Rupa Kudva's redemption of investments as unfair trade practice. In the same order, SEBI had penalized the CEO, the CIO, debt fund managers and other top officials of Franklin Templeton. The fund house and its top management were involved in continuous legal battles after they shut down the redemptions in their 6 debt schemes in 2020. Franklin Templeton Mutual Fund told CNBC-TV18 that the fund house continues to cooperate with the regulatory and statutory authorities in providing all data and information required by them.
Right, Shivani, many thanks for those details. Now, we broke the news first and it's confirmed. Samvardhana Motherson promoter Sumitomo Wiring Systems has sold 3.4% stake through block deals. The move is in line with the company's deleveraging strategy to fund its debt repayment. Sumitomo's stake in Motherson is down to around 14% from 17% earlier. Motherson shares nosedived around 9% following the block deals. Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, a sovereign wealth fund of the Emirate, will invest $500 million in eyewear retailer Lenskart for a 10% stake. The investment will be a mix of primary and secondary sale of shares. The Abu Dhabi investment is expected to be Lenskart's largest fundraise till date. Apple's Taiwanese manufacturing partner Foxconn has won an order to make AirPods for the tech company. According to reports, Foxconn plans to build a factory in India to produce the wireless earphones. It may set up the factory in Telangana and is expected to invest over $200 million. The union government is unlikely to extend its emergency credit line guarantee scheme for MSMEs beyond the 31st of March. Sources say the government is set to promote a non-emergency funding scheme for small and medium enterprises. Sapna Das is here with more details. Sapna, what are you picking up?
Well, there are indications from government sources that probably the emergency credit line guarantee scheme, will be outliving its utility, and beyond March 31, that is end of the financial year, there probably will not be a requirement for yet another extension. The view within the government is that, the COVID-led emergency is not really visible in any of the sectors which are covered under ECLGS, and those sectors are far and wide. So all in all, this could be a call to allow the scheme to sunset naturally. Just a bit of a reference here, context, the finance minister in last year's budget had extended the scheme till March 31, 2023. So if the government doesn't take any further call, it's understood that, the scheme will be allowed to lapse on its own. But a caveat here, a formal decision has yet to be taken. And there are also contrary demands which have come in from the administrative ministry, which is MSME. They would like the scheme to have another extension, and there is ample headroom still available under the scheme. So there are some contrary voices, but ultimately this is a call to be taken by the finance ministry. That's one. Second, there is another, non-emergency funding scheme for the MSMEs, which the finance minister had announced in her budget last year itself. And that scheme is likely to become operational from 1st April onwards, for which the government will be infusing 9,000 odd crores, in the trust fund for MSMEs. So once that happens, there won't be a requirement for this kind of an emergency funding route for MSMEs, and this is a view within the government. So a call is likely towards the end of March on this front.
All right, Sapna, thank you so much for those details. Now, on that note, it is time for us to head into a short break. But coming up next, concerns remain over the budget outlay for the midday scheme. Experts argue that the fund allocated would make it tougher for schools to provide nutritious food to children. That and more on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still with us on Business 360. Now, the big global news. Former mayor of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti, has been named as the next U.S. ambassador to India. The U.S. Senate confirmed his nomination after a narrow vote. Parikshit Luthra is here with more on his political career and the controversies surrounding him. Parikshit?
The US has finally announced an ambassador for India. The appointment of former LA Mayor Eric Garcetti has been confirmed by the Senate 2.5 years after he was first nominated by the White House. A Biden loyalist and co-chair of the campaign, Garcetti's confirmation hearings have been rocked by scandals. So who is Garcetti? 52-year-old, studied at Columbia, Oxford and the London School of Economics, a co-chair of Joe Biden's campaign and someone who is considered as a Biden loyalist. Former mayor of Los Angeles, he in fact was the youngest mayor in 100 years. He held the post from 2013 to 2022. His website says he's an avid jazz pianist and a photographer. And it was really the Rick Jacobs scandal that impacted his confirmation hearings for over 2.5 years. Not just that, he was also dropped as a possible contender for Biden's cabinet due to these allegations. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley had put a hold on Garcetti's nomination, and Naomi Seligman, a former communications director for Garcetti, said he's unfit to be an ambassador. Even Democratic senators like Mazie Hirono, Sherrod Brown and Mark Kelly opposed him in the final hearing. Finally, he managed a confirmation by 52-42. Among other controversies, he has been criticized for trying to find middle ground during protests against the killing of George Floyd. And there were also corruption allegations against the LA City Council, which Garcetti once headed. The White House has said that many of the claims on the Rick Jacobs scandal and allegations against Garcetti for ignoring the allegations, the sexual harassment, the sexual assault allegations against his aide have already been debunked in various reports. And President Biden has backed this candidate throughout the last 2.5 years. He has also been in the news for his comments on the Citizenship Amendment Act. He has said that he would bring up human rights and discrimination via the CAA, and this will be among the core pieces of his engagement with India.
All right, Parichit, many thanks for those details. Now, Maharashtra farmers' protest march enters its 5th day today. Thousands of farmers are marching towards the state's capital, Mumbai, with a list of demands including immediate financial relief to onion growers. Protesting farmers, led by the All India Kisan Sabha, are set to meet Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis later today. There's a fresh case against former Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia. CBI has lodged FIR against 7 people, including Sisodia, in connection with a snooping case related to AAP's feedback unit. Now, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal said central agencies are using false cases to keep Sisodia in custody. The US has released a video of the alleged collision between a Russian jet and the US drone earlier this week. The video shows the Russian jet accelerating towards the drone twice. The video transmission stops abruptly the second time as the Russian jet passes near the drone. The American military claims that the Russian jet dumped fuel on the unmanned drone, causing the drone to crash over the Black Sea. NASA has unveiled the first prototype for a new spacesuit for astronauts who are a part of the Artemis 3 mission to the moon. The mission, scheduled for 2025, is NASA's first human landing near the lunar South Pole. The popular midday meal scheme, now renamed PM Poshan, is the Education Ministry's second largest student-centric welfare scheme. Budget 2023 allocates 11,600 crore rupees to this scheme for FY24. But experts are worried that this outlay is lower than last year's revised estimates. CNBC-TV18's Kiran Khatri reports that concerns also surround the quality of the food and the implementations, since when adjusted for inflation, the allocation has been reducing significantly over the years. Take a look.
7-year-old Sonakshi's father leaves for work at 7 a.m. every day, and there's no one else to cook for her and her 2 younger siblings. So they go to school on an empty stomach and rely on the government's midday meal scheme. Sometimes their teachers let them eat earlier than other students.
They are among about 12 crore children covered under the PM Poshan scheme. The scheme is touted to be one of the world's largest free school meals programs. The allocation, though, in this year's budget has been reduced to 11,600 crore rupees from the FY23 revised estimates of 12,800 crore rupees.
Experts say the bigger concern is that in real terms, when adjusted for inflation, there has been a sustained decline in this allocation over the past few years.
9 years ago in 2014-15, the budget for midday meals was more than 13,000 crores. And today it's less than 12,000 crores. That's in money terms. So in real terms, it's about 40% less today if you take into account the price increases. It's about 40% less today than 9 years ago. And that is really the concern, that it's becoming more and more difficult for the schools to provide a nutritious meal because the budget is so small.
But the government points out that this year's budget allocation is 13% higher than the allocation in Budget 2022. The Ministry of Education has also told Parliament, and I quote, "The allocation is likely to be sufficient for the implementation of the scheme with existing norms during 2023-2024, end quote. But experts are still concerned. In October last year, the government hiked the cost per midday meal per child to 5 rupees and 45 paise for primary classes and to 8 rupees and 17 paise for upper primary classes. This was a 9.6% hike and came after a 2-year gap. The Center for Policy Research says this hike did not account for a 24% rise in food inflation between April 2020 and October 2022, and that the meal cost per child should have been raised to over 6 rupees for primary classes and above 9 rupees for upper primary classes to account for inflation. Organizations like the Akshaya Patra Foundation, which supply midday meals to government schools, receive grains from the Food Corporation of India and cash subsidies from the centre and state governments. Their average meal cost per child is more than 12 rupees, so they rely on private donors to make up any shortfall.
we get 6 rupees 65 paisa from the Government of India and the various state governments in the form of cash subsidy and grain subsidy. So this contributes to about 54% of our total running expenditure per meal, and the balance 46% Akshaya Patra raises from various corporates, trusts, foundations and individuals.
Also, the cost of the scheme is split between the centre and states, and the central funds are released in 2 installments. But this release has been delayed.
We've seen there was some technical difficulty, and as a result, in the ad hoc grant couldn't be released. So no funds were released under the scheme in the first quarter. And again, when we do this analysis by December 2022, only 52% of the funds had been released under the scheme. And only 5 states had received 60% of their funds.
Experts believe that unless the budget allocation for the PM Poshan scheme is increased significantly, the quality of meals provided to children will suffer, especially in terms of nutrition. In Mumbai, Kiran Khatri.
And with that, it is a wrap on this edition of Business 360. Many thanks for watching, but stay tuned to CNBC TV18. The news continues on the other side.